Well, hello everyone. This is the first video going over Chapter 9. Again, this is for uh, Horry Georgetown Technical College. This is McGraw-Hill uh, edition 16. Again, this is video 1 going over Chapter 9, the muscular system. And then we're going to just do a intro to the muscular system in this video. So again, hopefully most of the stuff we're going to talk about in this particular slide is stuff that everybody knows. There's 3 types of muscles. We have skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscle. Now, most of this chapter, we're studying skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle is very important. I mean, all of them are, obviously. Skeletal muscle is the only voluntary muscle of the 3. As a matter of fact, it's pretty much the only voluntary substance in the body. The only thing you have conscious control over is skeletal muscle. Cardiac muscle, hopefully everyone knows, is going to be found in the heart. Now this means in the heart. I've had tests in the past where I'll ask about the muscle that is in the blood vessels, and I'll have people say cardiac muscle, and that is not true. Cardiac muscle is only in the heart. It is involuntary, but it is also striated. Skeletal muscle and cardiac muscle are both have a striated appearance, and it's because they have these very organized sarcomeres, which we're going to look at in just a little bit. And then the last is called smooth muscle. It is called smooth muscle because it doesn't have the striations. Smooth muscle is also involuntary, no conscious control. You don't want to have to think about controlling your heart and your smooth muscle, like your stomach or intestines or whatever. So they are involuntary, and smooth muscle is going to be found in many different areas of the body, and whatever area it is in, that's the system it will be in. For instance, the smooth muscle that we looked at early on in the integumentary system, called the erector pili muscle, that is part of the integumentary system. When we look at the smooth muscle of the intestinal tract and the muscularis level of the GI tract, that is part of the intestinal or the digestive system. So the smooth muscle will be in whatever system it is found in. So skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, smooth muscle. Skeletal muscle is the only one of the 3 that is voluntary, and smooth muscle is the only one of the 3 that is non-striated. Skeletal muscle is the muscles we think of as far as bicep, tricep, which again we're going to learn the correct names. I mean, a lot of people know them from their gym names: bis, tris, traps, lats, but we'll learn their real names. Cardiac muscle is the heart. Smooth muscle is going to be in the different systems. Now, skeletal muscle, as it says here, there are plenty of skeletal muscles in the body, over 600 skeletal muscles. They're attached to bones mainly, and there's a very unique bunch of muscles called the muscles of facial expression. They attach to the skin of the face. They allow us to have expressions, which is a very unique thing. They are, as it says, under conscious control. We can think about it and make them move. And they are the organs of the muscular system. Each muscle, no matter how small it is an organ in and of itself. Because skeletal muscles, as it says here, is not only composed of muscle tissue, but it's got nervous tissue, it's got blood, it's got to get blood to it, and the nervous tissue controls and sends the signals to it. And then connective tissues. Now, the rest of this video, we're kind of look at these connective tissues. So, first of all, these connective tissues have a couple of important names to know. One, just the general name for the covering, this connective tissue covering, is called fascia. And so fascia is going to be surrounding the outermost part of muscles. Also, in groups of muscles that are working together, we'll have an outer fascia. The area that is connective tissue that connects the muscles to the bone, it connects the muscles to the bone. You can kind of remember that tendons tie muscles to bones, right? So the tendon is going to be between a bone and a muscle. And it doesn't say this here, but just understand that a ligament is between 2 bones. So tendons have a muscle on one side and a bone on the other. A tendon is going to have bone on either side of it. Now, There are a few really unique places where instead of the tendon having a muscle and a bone on either side of it, there's going to be this little band of connective tissue that's going to have muscle on either side of it. That is called an aponeurosis. We'll see one of the main ones that's easy to see is what we would consider the scalp. It connects the frontalis from the occipitalis, the muscle that's on the frontal bone, and the muscle that's on the occiput. Um, and so that little connective tissue is an aponeurosis. Again, it doesn't have a bone on one side and muscle on the other. It has muscle on both sides. And then we're going to look in just a second as a picture that explains the repeating pattern of connective tissue that surrounds muscle itself. It starts first with the one on the very inside. It surrounds each muscle fiber. And remember, muscle fibers are also called muscle cells. And so around each cell, I have endomyosin. Endo means inside, myosin means muscle. Right? Then I have perimyosin, which bundles groups of muscle cells together in a structure called a fascicle. And then these fascicles have an outer structure around it called epimyosin, which is the outer layer, and that makes up the whole muscle. So I went backwards on this from the inside working out, but I could also go in reverse and take the outside working down. So epimyosin's around the whole muscle. I start looking at it. I'll see these little tubes called fascicles. Around each fascicle is perimyosin. And then if I look at the fascicle, I'll see individual muscle fibers inside of it. And inside of that is endomyosin, as this picture is going to show. Well, the next picture, I'm sorry, but this picture kind of does show this aponeurosis right here. So this is the little area that's between, this is the frontalis, and then back here, which you can't see, is the occipitalis. Those two muscles have aponeurosis between them. There is also this muscle we commonly call the six-pack, which is the what we call the rectus abdominis. Rectus means middle or midline, and midline in the abdominal region. And so in between each of these muscles, these little things here, that is also aponeurosis. But let's look at the epiperi and endomyosin. So this is a cross section of a whole muscle, okay, an entire muscle. This is, again, this is bone. Hopefully everybody would be able to recognize this is the femur right now. So I've got a tendon that's connecting this muscle on the femur. Now, as we look at it, we're going to cut it and then kind of enlarge. It's like those little, I think they're called Russian nesting dolls or something like that, where you just keep opening them up and there's another doll that looks similar, only smaller. So I'm going to enlarge this picture, right, and look at it a little bit. So this here, I'm going to start at the inner inside. And so this right here is a muscle fiber or a muscle cell. It is going to be surrounded by a connective tissue covering, and it doesn't say it in here, but it is endomyosin. Endomyosin surrounds this and it protects it. It's going to keep it separate from the other individual cells that you'll see right in here that are grouped together to form what we call a fascicle. This fascicle is going to have a outer covering called perimyosin. Perimyosin surrounds this fascicle, and then groups of other fascicles get packaged together, and this is a muscle, an entire muscle, and it is surrounded by epimyosin. Now the epimyosin will have an outer coating. It's not labeled on this picture because it's enlarged, but you'd see it if I went back to the other one. The outermost covering is just simply called fascia. So I've got fascia. Then underneath that, I've got a membrane called epimyosin. And then if I look inside the muscle, I'm going to see little tubes that are called fascicles. They have perimyosin around them, separating them from other fascicles. If I look at the fascicle itself and cut it and enlarge it, I'll see that it too is a package of tubes, and each tube is a muscle fiber / muscle cell. They are surrounded by endomyosin, which separates them from the other muscle fibers or cells that are located in the fascicle. And just to kind of confuse you even more, if I look at the cell itself and I cut it in half and look at it, I've got more repeating round structures called myofibrils. And then if I take the myofibrils and cut them in half and look at them, I'm going to see little tubes called filaments that are in there. That's the actin and myosin we'll look at. But right now I want you to know epi, peri, and endomyosin. Epi is in the outside. Hopefully by now you remember epi means above or outer. So epimyosin is the outer one. Peri means in between. Perimyosin is the one that is the midway. And then endo means inside. And so the most internal is endomyosin. Now, finally, just some ideas about fascia. So jumping down here to the bottom part first. So fascia is going to be what surrounds each muscle, but it in itself is going to be part of a bigger network of fascia that works together. Um, Part of the idea of the fascia, this dense regular connective tissue that's around it, it is going to connect with the subcutaneous fascia in what we call the integumentary system. It's the bottom part of what we quote unquote call the skin. This allows the muscle and the the um, the cutaneous membrane that is above it to be connected. And also we have it connected to the serous membranes as well, and it's subserous fascia in that. Now these big, more elaborate networks of fascia can group many muscles together. All right, so this is talking about a compartment where I have many, like a group of muscles. So like, let's say maybe it's the quadriceps, or for instance, when we're looking at muscles in lab, we're going to see this group of two muscles that kind of work together, the semitendinosus and semimembranous. They're going to have a compartment that they work together in. And so sometimes we have swelling, which is a fluid accumulation inside this compartment, and we call that compartment syndrome. It is painful. Now, because we have to have blood flow to the area, if we've got swelling in there, that means it increases the pressure. Increasing the pressure causes a loss of blood flow, because those little blood vessels are going to be constricted. And so with that, we're going to have a deficiency in oxygen and nutrients because I can't get blood to the area. So that's a compartment syndrome. It's kind of a swelling of a group of muscles inside of it. So that is it for the general idea of muscles. We're going to look, as we move on, a little bit more in how muscles work. But I hope this all made sense, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.